You have a lot of notes? I have no notes. I thought about it, but I was like, nah, I don't want to seem over prepared because I'm going on the attack with this.
The only reason I have notes is because I wanted to point out a lot of the Easter eggs that were really interesting.
Good, because I'm just gonna point out a lot of the failures. So
I'm going along with Justin here. So
no, I thought I was gonna be over 2-1 here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I have this particular set of opinions.
Okay.
About Star Wars. So
let's just make that the intro. Welcome to the Nerd Pastors podcast.
Let's go.
My name is Justin, coming at you. I'm casual today. I got my sword shirt on and my church cap on. It's summer. Don't expect me to dress up. I'm not looking as snazzy as my co-host. Welcome again, the optimistic, the ever half glass half full Seth Muse. How are you, Seth?
Stunned, because that's probably the first and only time anyone's ever described me as optimistic and glass half full. That's amazing. On Star Wars, I have become this way.
Yeah, I think you have to be. I am losing faith in Disney properties. It's just Doug, how are you today with us as usual, as often?
I am wonderful, and I took the show for what it was and just kind of went with it, and but I'm glad to be here with you guys, and we'll try not to hurt Seth too much with our negativity. So
I don't have. I'll sum it up here. I don't have negativity about the show. My daughter said she saw me on the couch watching the finale, and she's like, "Hey, Daddy, what are you watching?" And I said, "Obi, why couldn't this just be a 2-hour movie?" Like that's, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Never mind. I'm going to save it for the show." So let's go around the horn and give our reviews. I'll go first. I tweeted this out. I always do this movie reviews where I give like illusions instead, or illustrations instead of like a score. So I said, here's my review of the Obi-Wan season 1 series. It's like someone was turning 21 years old and their parents planned them a child's birthday party. That's my review of Obi-Wan. We wanted something that was a little bit more thought out, a little bit more planned, a little more like for the older audience that has known Obi-Wan for 40, how old now? 45 years, something like that. And instead we've got baby Leia essentially for 5 episodes. Oh, and then maybe someone brought a 6-pack of beer at the end of the party. That was episode 6. That's my review of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I give it a 4 out of 10. How about you, Seth? To bring in some optimism here.
I give it a 9 out of 10.
Ooh, okay.
I give it a 9 out of 10. I think this was peak Star Wars for what it should be. I thought that the little girl they brought in that played Leia nailed the part. I loved the side quest with Reva and her unveiling of her back. First of all, spoilers. If you haven't seen the series, we're probably going to get spoiler.
Why are you listening to this? Go watch the series. I know Dale's got like a queue backed up of all of our review shows because the man's so busy he doesn't watch the TV shows that we're watching. But anyways, yeah, spoilers alert.
Yeah, well, I thought it was such a good fleshing out of the connection between episode 3 and episode 4, and left room for more stories if we wanted them. But I love to see Obi-Wan struggling with something, and not just being the paragon of virtue that he always was. I enjoyed watching him having a journey, getting him to a point. I think it completed a lot of the questions we had between episode 3 and 4 that were like, wait a minute, this seems like it's incompatible, how does Leia know Obi-Wan from before? And why does she have visions of her mother? And when she died at birth, all those questions they kind of answered and gave you enough that it could be satisfying. Honestly, I just think that like at this point, when I'm watching Star Wars, I'm either going to like it. And if I do, great. And if I don't, then I just won't watch it anymore, but I'm not going to like really overly criticize it, because again, I think we're in an epic era of Star Wars where my generation, and even Justin, your generation, we had our day of Star Wars, and Doug too. We've had our day of Star Wars, and now they're not making it for us anymore. And they are continuing to make they're making it for other people. And I'm a person that still feels like a child. I like cartoons. I watch anime. That doesn't bother me as much. But I feel like all the extra Star Wars, if it's done anything, it's made episode 1, 2, and 3 better and make more sense. It's filled in all those holes. And I think this helps do that a little bit too. So I loved it. I thought it was just a great conclusion. If they don't give us any more Obi-Wan, I think we're fine. If they wanted to continue on with the story, I think they could do that in some really interesting ways. But ultimately, I thought that it was overall just fantastic.
You said 9 out of 10. What prevents it from being a 10?
Just because there were some things that you're kind of like, come on, dude, like dude chasing Leia and he suddenly stopped at a tree, he could just duck under.
See, that's minus 2 points for me. That's minus 1 point for you.
It's stuff like that.
We might actually have some of the similar thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
we just score them differently.
There was a few little unnecessary extra spin moves in things, like with Reva.
Nothing like Boba. I'll say that the fighting was better than Boba. And
Reva had some pretty fantastic gainers off the top of roofs chasing them through that really cool cyberpunk city. Yeah, very parkour. And I was like, that seems like it defies the laws of physics anywhere in the universe. But
yeah, that was very I tell you what, that was very prequel of her. It had those elements, and that's why I deduct the 1, because it was kind of prequel-y a little bit. Yeah.
Ultimately I liked it.
We'll talk about the short. We'll talk about the good. We'll talk about the bad. We'll put them together and see what we have. Doug, what did you think of Obi-Wan?
Well, I had great hopes going in. I was excited to see his return. And like Seth, I wanted to see some of that gap filled in, because being the oldest among us, I can remember when parts 1, 2, and 3 didn't exist at all. And there was only Star Wars. It was not even A New Hope when I first saw it. So yeah, I'm aging myself quite a bit here, guys. But I always was puzzled, like, how is Obi-Wan here on Tatooine all this time, and Luke just kind of sort of knows about him? So it's good seeing some of that backstory leading up to that start to get filled in, especially with the connections to Leia, because, she's talking about, well, you were the general in the wars, or she's talking about the Clone Wars, or, it's good to see all those parts start to get filled in. I wasn't quite so pleased with the retro stuff that was done to it, where they revised the history, and now you got Padawans running around, and you got all this other extra runaways and things, and it's just puzzling why they would change so much. But I'm also seeing it like Seth did, that this isn't my Star Wars. It hasn't been since the mouse gave George $1 billion and he said, "Whoa, there you go."
Oh, hey, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think I think it stopped being my Star Wars. I think Last Jedi was kind of it. And I was very forgiving to Last Jedi, because I was really hoping when I saw it, it was like from what I hear, because I'm a young gun, no one or very few people enjoyed Empire Strikes Back like they did Episode 4. And so because it could just kind of end it. And so I was thinking well, maybe Last Jedi, maybe I'm just not going to like it, but maybe I'll appreciate it later on. Took me 2 years to watch it again, which I did before I watched Rise of Skywalker. And I was like, okay, it's better the second viewing, but I have no intention of ever watching it again. And I've still only seen Rise of Skywalker in theater one time. I just have not desired to go back and watch it. Unlike right now, I don't want to get too separate on this, but I think another reason I'm so hard on Kenobi right now is because I am in a Legends deep dive. I replayed KOTOR. I replayed KOTOR 2. I'm reading the Revan novel, or I'm listening to the Revan novelization, Rise of Revan. I played through one of the SWOTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic MMO, which if you've not played that, it's free. And it's a little limited. You might want to spend $15 to unlock
It's free
80% of the content.
It's free on a PC.
Is it on in other things? I didn't know.
I've
Yeah, it's
tried to
on
get on that.
PC.
I've tried to get that on a Mac and find a way to do it.
I have the dual boot
hard.
on my Mac, so I have Windows and Mac. But
okay,
anyways,
so you can run both. I've always wanted to play it.
I played The Old Republic, which, man, that still holds up. I remember playing that in college. It came out when I was in college and still holds up. Great storyline. The Jedi Knight, there's 8 classes. The Jedi Knight is essentially like a KOTOR 2.5 story. Fantastic. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a really good continuation of the KOTOR stuff. And then I've been watching a lot of ancient Sith lore. I always had a question, like, I still don't understand how hyperspace works, because apparently there's like hyperspace lanes. I'm like, what? That I don't know what this. I'm trying to figure that stuff out.
That's
Darth
the
Bane,
Wave
Darth
of
Bane,
Magicum.
Yeah. Getting into Darth Bane a little bit. So I've been on a Legends deep dive, and I haven't done, I am totally Old Republic still. I haven't gone into any of post Yavin battle and Luke's Leia and Han's kids in Legends. I haven't gone into any of that. I'm just totally in the old stuff. So I'm reading, listening, enjoying all this old stuff, and I'm watching Kenobi, and I'm just like, it's not it. I don't say it's canon breaking like other folks will. I will say it's canon cracking. There are cracks in the canon, which, of all the answers that they've given us, which I don't know. To me, it raises more questions than answers between 3 and 4. The most solid canon addition that I enjoyed was when Obi-Wan calls Anakin Darth. And then it's like, oh, well, he called him Darth in episode 4. So that explains why he called him Darth.
It was derogatory.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. But, for me, okay, before I go too much into my other thoughts, Doug, scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate Kenobi?
I'll give it about a 6.
Okay. So I'm the harshest one here.
Yeah, well, but this is coming from actually my Star Trek experience, where I tried to let the shows be the shows and try not to force it into the overall canon, because when you do, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But like you, I'm a Legends universe person, and the best thing Disney could do is give Tim Zahn buckets of money, make him the head writer, with a unbreakable veto power, and let him fix Star Wars. Because when you get into the post Return of the Jedi stuff in Legends, when you read Heir to Heir of Empire the first time, you're going to know that was what should have been done as the next 3 movies. And that was what Lucas intended, but he messed around and didn't do it. And Legends post Jedi is amazing, except for Darksaber. That book is horrid. Don't read it. It's the one where Luke develops the ability to teleport between planets. So
full on teleporter, like Ghost, Last Jedi, Mirage teleport.
Well, the Jedi Storm out of the later movies, he can summon it in Darksaber and teleport between planets. I'm like, no. No.
Yeah, they get pretty intense in some
of
those
Death
books.
Star in Darksaber, it's not the Death Star, it's just the blaster cannon. So it's a saber. Please don't read that book. It will make you cry.
Well, and you just mentioned, like, Timothy Zahn, extensive writer in Legends, great Star Wars novelist. He wrote the trilogy. It's kind of known as the Thrawn trilogy, where Grand Admiral Thrawn is really introduced, and it's that Heir to the Empire starting that series. And that's the first one I read. The first one's in the Legends series, and that's what hooked me, is because that takes the story as it was and it writes it in a way that would naturally just continue. It doesn't like jump into any kind of fantastic different thing, and it everything kind of makes sense in there, even though the stories don't always go together, or they do things like Darksaber. Apparently I haven't read that one, but I'm collecting all those books so that I can start reading them now. And then when I retire, that's my retirement. I'm just reading all of those Star Wars books. So I've
the
got like 20 of
Silmarillion
them.
is my retirement plan.
Oh man, read that one while you got some brain power left, though. It's that's a strong imaginary book. But anyway, I will say this: that what you just said is probably should be a guiding rule for anybody that's our age watching Star Wars, or like you were young when the prequels came out. There is no fan base more toxic than Star Wars right now. There really isn't. I mean, we're just very, very hard to please, almost impossible to please. And so I would say that the real problem was introduced when we started with this idea of canon. What is canon? And I've always been this kind of, I've had this mindset since we first started talking about Rise of Skywalker. Remember on this podcast, I was like, that's the best one ever. And now I'm like, I wouldn't watch it. I've just kind of rethought how I think about all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Just because a really large company makes a bunch of movies and says, this is canon because we own it now, doesn't mean I have to accept that. Doesn't mean I have to go with it. Doesn't mean I have to think this is how it went. They can keep making stories all they want, because as we've already grown up on Legends, we know they don't have to make sense. It's just fun.
And it's kind of like it. That's the hard part, is like, we know it can be better.
Yeah.
And they don't have that desire.
It is hard.
Well, and also the fact that they keep Legends in print shows that Disney actually knows the answer. They just don't want to admit it, because then they would be wrong.
Yeah. And what's funny is, and it's almost like I can't decide if I like this or don't, but even in Obi-Wan, there was a scene where he was looking at the wall of all the other Jedi that passed through, on the smuggling of younglings and stuff. And, it's in that language, the basic language that everyone, only really nerds can translate. And so you find out online who's translated it. And there's a bunch of names on there that are from Legends. And so they brought in the little kid. It's one of the Easter eggs. And I got a bunch of Easter eggs I can share with you later.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Sure.
Corin, something like that.
Corin Horn. And that's when you said Darksaber sucks, don't read it. I was like, that's how I felt about iJedi. First of all, dumb name. Second of all, it's a companion story to a book I already read about the Sun Crusher and all that stuff. And like all that's going on at the same time. So you kind of hear some of the same stuff again while you're following Corin's version of how he interacts with the story, which he wasn't even there in the other book. You're like, who is this guy? It's a clear retrofit, but so I kind of dropped it. I was like bored with it. It was just not a very good. And I'm like, I already know what happens. I've already read this. But he had his name was on the wall, and not his name, his father's name was on the wall, and Corin was the name in the credits given to that little kid that they were trying to smuggle that was force sensitive. So they were trying to go to Corellia, which is where he was from, and so like he has this long history. He was an X-Wing pilot, and they're doing an X-Wing movie so that it could deal with him. So there's all this speculation, but that's the kind of stuff they're doing. They're bringing in Legends names like Thrawn. They brought Thrawn in Rebels. He's straight from that first trilogy. Now they've got books about him, and they're taking these characters that we know and love and still using them kind of like as they are, but putting them in a different, history. And so it's like, you like it, but it also feels wrong because if you've read these other things. So it's confusing. And that's kind of why I was like, I've kind of abandoned the idea of what, canon is. Canon is what I like.
Right.
Yeah. I go back and forth on it, because even I'm thinking like, okay, even though I'm not reading any Marvel comics at the moment, I know that there are times when I'm reading something and it's like, this totally is not how that power works. But then you're like, well, not only just plot armor, but also different writers interpret characters differently and speak differently, write differently, arterate it differently, draw it differently. It's just different, right? I think that's what bothers me the most, is that we can't really say that, because Disney has this oversight. You can't say that with the MCU because it's all Kevin Feige, right? Like he has the last say on all productions. He has pretty much the first say and also the last say. We don't blame, was Joe Quesada was the editor for Marvel for a long time. We don't blame him too much, but I mean, ultimately he is responsible for some of that. And so I try to like, I'm like, there's just some cognitive dissonance where I can't let Disney off that hook. Like they should be wiser than this. My main problem with Kenobi, like I said, it should have been a 2-hour movie. I feel like it would have been a fantastic Rogue One-ish movie. I love Rogue One. I love Rogue One. That is a fantastic story that blends to it kind of goes from not really 3 to 4, but it goes into 4. It tells a story. It's a self-contained story. It doesn't break canon. It enhances it. And granted, there's a lot of freedom there because none of these characters have to live. So we can tell whatever story we want. It's like in Loki, right? Like she's just going to go hide in apocalyptic scenarios because she can do whatever she wants and we'll never know.
Yeah.
My thing with this is I thought Riva could have been done way better had she just started on her own episode or her own series. Didn't have to be a part of this all. This could have been a 2-hour movie of Bail calling Obi-Wan and being like, hey, they're rounding up Force sensitives and, we need your help here. I know you're guarding Luke or whatever, kind of like Fallen Order, right? Like they were tracking Force sensitive in Jedi Fallen Order, and maybe they rounded them up, and that's the MacGuffin that sends Obi-Wan off planet, which a lot of people have a problem with. It's like you had one job, Obi-Wan, and you abandoned your post, and Luke almost died because of it. Like that's the problem. You had one job, meme. But I mean, also Organa didn't do his job, I guess, technically.
It's really a failure.
Can't escape those slippery 10-year-olds and Red Hot Chili Peppers bassists. Those guys are tough to get past.
Right.
Well,
so I don't know. I feel like if there had just been a solid MacGuffin that puts Obi-Wan on that path of overcoming his regret and remorse, and there's a better word for what he was feeling the first 3 episodes. Just don't be so pathetic. That's why we didn't like Luke in The Last Jedi, is because he was so pathetic. You can be downtrodden, hard on your luck, end of Empire Strikes Back, with still having some hope and not just being like, I'm just another defeated dude. Like everything sucks and I'm terrible. But instead he goes off. So the movie would just be he goes off, and then it encapsulates basically episode 6 is the final hour of the movie. Which episode 5 and 6 didn't have that much later because she was they were done with her. They didn't need her that anymore. Like in that, I don't know. It's just I think I'd like
guilt,
the story,
man. Like guilt is a crippling thing. It is.
And so I think that's a good story that could have been told. I
think that's what they told. I think
they handled it with all this other stuff, like breaking into the Inquisitors thing and rescuing Leia, who got herself kidnapped again or whatever. And then we've got the Jedi smuggling ring that we're going through, and Haja Solo, who's basically just another Han Solo, but wants to be a Jedi. Like we've got all that. Tara, I love the character of Tara. Maybe she could have been incorporated. Another Empire spy or whatever, or Benedict Arnold, coat, what do they call it? Coat changer, whatever, turncoat. I think all that would have been great as a 2-hour movie, and they stretched it out. One episode was 30 minutes long. And 5 of that was credits. Like what a jip, right? Just make it a movie. Don't try to stretch it out. And you can. I'm almost thinking about, because Ahsoka was introduced in Clone Wars and she did really well, and but Riva's not going to continue in Kenobi. She's going to get her own series. I'm sure she'll be great in that. I just don't think Kenobi was the proper introduction for her. And the whole time I'm saying, all I've seen her do is cut off someone's arm. I haven't seen her kill anyone. She's probably going to have a redemption arc. And then in episode 4 or part 4, she threw that luggage at the ship and made it crash as they were escaping the Inquisitorium. I'm like, hey, she killed someone. Maybe they won't do a redemption arc. Maybe she's a new villain, and I can get on board with that. I think she'd be a fantastic villain. But nope, she's a redemption arc, and she goes to kill a child as revenge for someone killing other child.
I think what they did was so much better than that. I think it was so much deeper than that. I think like the confusion that she feels of being next to Vader and hating Vader is so dark side. It's so true to form. And then when Kenobi reveals, like, you're hunting him, Like that was so like chilling to think that there's this old Padawan who survived a saber through the gut, which apparently everyone does. And then she comes back and like is able to get next to him and attacks him. And then that fight was fantastic because it just showed the power difference. I mean,
Yeah.
Vader didn't even draw
Vader
his
didn't
saber.
bring out his lightsaber at all,
He's-
right? He
he
just
was
kept
playing with
using
it.
her.
He didn't care.
Well,
Yeah.
since
Which I didn't
you all
understand
have
also. I didn't understand also at the end of that fight. He was like, you thought you could do this to me, but I knew it was you all along. Like, how long was all along? Because Vader doesn't seem like the kind of person that lets you get close to him. If he thinks you're against him, he's gonna force choke you long before you even get that chance. Which again,
Well, he might not have seen it coming until right then. I mean,
and that's what
he
I'm saying.
might
Is like, I knew it was you all along. Like
he didn't
how
really say
long
that
was
though.
all
He said,
along?
He said, do you not think I didn't see? Like, do
Yeah.
you think I didn't see?
So
everything that just took
how
place?
long was it? Like how long? Because I mean, that could have been weeks, could have been days, could have been
Yeah.
like, hey, you didn't think I couldn't see you behind me? Like, first of all, she's like,
I know,
like,
right?
that's
Like,
not how you kill
here I
someone.
come.
Yeah. But at least I'll tell you what, at least she had the smartness to do a slashing motion and not a poking motion, which apparently doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah,
That's another
it's pretty
stupid thing.
survivable.
Well, one of the things that with Riva that you're missing because you guys have not read all of Legends, and even though she's a new character, I've got a feeling of where they're going to place her and why Vader left her alone for so long. They're bringing Mara Jade into Mandalorian.
You think so?
Yeah, they've already mentioned that. So,
Really?
and Mara Jade is the right hand of the Emperor.
That's the hand of the Emperor. That's
no, the right hand of the Emperor. There's also the left hand. They're both force sensitives.
Yeah.
And both get redemption arcs in Legends.
If they do that, do you think they will be connecting those dots with Luke?
Oh yeah. Well, if they bring Mara in, I'll tell you exactly what they're going to do. Favre will have won, and they're going to jettison the last 3 movies.
Hope so.
So, because there's no reason to bring Mara in if you're not going for, you don't bring in that kind of character if you're not sending her to Luke.
Yeah, I agree. If they brought,
and as you said, you know, the Legends is so deep, they're crazy to not mind the books.
They really are, because they're, even though there's some nuts stuff out there, Legends established a beloved continuation of these stories with Uber fans. And I think that's a big part of the problem that a lot of us are facing, is that if you've read some of this, and even if you haven't read it, you've heard some of this, if you've been around the lore through video games or comics or other things that people have brought in, and you go, oh, that's why that's interesting. They're bringing that in. It's all been there kind of on the outskirts. You kind of know that Han and Leia get married and have kids. Luke has a son, and I'm collecting that whole Jedi Academy, you know, the
Jedi Academy series by Anderson is amazing.
It's so good.
It's clearly young adult, but it is so fun.
But it's that story of what happens to those kids, and it's really a handoff of the responsibility of the United States, of the universe, to this new wave of Jedi, same families, but new kids, new problems, new friends, new adventures. And that is where those, honestly, for me, those sequels went wrong. They didn't really do that well.
Yeah, and where Han and Leia's kids end up are not where you'd expect.
Right.
So.
Right. And you've got this new generation of force sensitive Jedi, Sith, all kinds of temptations and problems. And, you know, Luke getting with Mara Jade and having this, they're the ones that had the son named Ben.
Yes.
And like, he's great. And, you know, and then, you know, some of other kids go crazy. And there's just so many layers there. And that's why I thought, like, what they did with Riva in there was kind of reminiscent of that confusion, the back and forth, the redemption arc. But I've done some terrible things, but it's like nobody's falling in love with her, you know, after she mass murders people, or, you know, crushes their spines and hangs them up in the city. You know, it's like, you're free. Let's start making amends. We're not making out at the end with the hero, so that kind of stuff is a refreshing thing for me, in that we're treating these people like they actually would be in real life.
No, in real life, she would go to jail because she murdered a pilot. She threw luggage at him and killed him. So, which I can forgive, because where's she gonna? You can't turn her into the Empire. The Empire is gonna torture her and turn her again. So, like, maybe going free is the best iteration in that scenario, because Obi-Wan's not going to strike her down.
No.
He would certainly leave her for dead, because apparently that's what we do in between prequels and original, is just leave people for dead. Obi-Wan left Anakin for dead on lava planet, name escapes me. Mustafar. Darth left Obi-Wan for dead under a pile of rocks, and then Obi-Wan left Darth for dead, which I read on Reddit basically puts part of Alderaan's destruction on Obi-Wan's shoulders. Never really thought about it that way. I guess you could have said that on episode 3 as well. Really.
I don't think so.
I know.
That's Tarkin.
So, but it's like,
that's Tarkin's
again,
call.
Why would Darth Vader leave? I mean, they're striking at each other, intending to kill people. I'm granted he buries Obi-Wan in all that stone, which, I mean, I'm assuming is heavy. I don't know what stone it is. Did that stone on that planet appear lightsaber resistant? Because I remember there was a part where Obi-Wan got up. Well, I guess not, because he slashed the rock in half, but there was a part where his lightsaber was on and he got up and it did not score the ground. And there was another part where Vader swung his lightsaber and it struck a rock, but it didn't like slice it or appear to have any damage. So I thought that's a pretty cool, like a little lightsaber resistant rock, almost like a vibro rock, maybe. But then Obi-Wan, I remember he slashed one in half. But I don't know. I don't think Darth Vader would have just buried him and left him for dead. People told me, I said, I wish he would have said something like, "Hey, I have the high ground now." Like, that's too on the nose. I'd be like, I would love to see that.
Hey, the end, when he had the conversation with the Emperor asked him, "I wonder if your feelings are clear on this." And he's wanting to hunt him down. But he had him and he left him. I think it's like the theme with Darth Vader is, as terrible and as horrible as he is, there is still good in him. That is always the kernel of goodness that's always there eating away. And when the helmet's half off, he starts to see that. And that's what makes, that scene choked me up.
That was another thing I didn't like. And maybe it was my misinterpretation, because at the end of Kenobi, they made it sound like Vader just has dissociative disorder. And he's just going back between identities instead of, this is Anakin.
Yeah.
Right. And he turns to the dark side and then he becomes redeemed. Well, now it's just, oh no, this is Anakin. He's here. He calls me master. Well, and then Vader comes back and he's like, it's like he's moon knighting over here.
No, he's
of
trapped.
Falling and then coming back.
That's the thing, is Vader is not only, conflicted, he's trapped. He's trapped not only in that suit, but he's trapped in his decisions. He's trapped in his beholdens to his master, who he knows is evil, but believes that that's the only way he's going to get what he wants. And what he wants is changing all the time. And I think there's confusion there. And that's why he's like, I wonder if your thoughts are clear. Is it because Vader is not quite sure that he wants to kill Obi-Wan, or I don't know, maybe he's entertaining the idea that there's, redemption there or whatnot. But
so did Vader kill Anakin, and then it's Vader that returns to the light in Return of the Jedi, or is Vader? I feel like Vader is suppressing an identity.
If you go to the end of the third movie, you can see where the dissociative comes into play, because when the Emperor emphasizes that you killed Padme, you see you can tell his mind breaks at that point. But one of the things that you guys are, I think you're missing, is there's a misinterpretation amongst people about what the Sith represent and what the Jedi represent. The reason why Vader is doing the things that he's doing is he wants control. The Sith represent order. Jedi represent chaos. Because you will do this if you're Sith. Jedis they encourage diversity.
See, I think they both represent control. in a different way.
I could say that. I wouldn't call it chaos. I would say, pardon me if I mispronounce this. I think it's called laissez-faire, right? Like live and let live. Like the Jedi Council, again, all the way back, even in KOTOR days, is very hands off. We're not going to be in war. Episode 1, we don't want to get involved with this diplomacy, intergalactic trade war. We don't want to get involved, right? Like they were forced to become generals in the separatist war. That was not by their choice. And so, like, I wouldn't say chaos. I would say like they're just leave us alone, right? That I think that goes back to the Jedi before they were Jedi. So it's like, so anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's how I see it. And yeah, I agree with that, because then that also goes back to why Vader is constantly trying to overtake the Emperor, right? He wants to take over the galaxy with his son.
Yeah. It's that employee that sits around and complains all the time and thinks they could do it better than the boss. Right. It's that same thing. Like, I don't know why.
That was another thing I didn't care for, Doug. This is up your alley because it's more literary. You know, in the original OG trilogy, the Emperor's hologram was always bigger than Vader, and they continued that in The Force Awakens when Snoke's hologram was bigger than Kylo Ren. Why did they, in the last episode of Kenobi, make the Emperor's hologram just a little communication device, much smaller, in the palm of Vader's hand while they were talking? Why not another big hologram in the final episode? Was it symbolizing something there?
It could have been that symbolizing that perhaps this is part of the point where Vader is starting to realize he's more Anakin than Vader, so his perception has changed. Whereas the Emperor previously was so an overwhelming presence to him. Because think about Anakin through the second movie and then into the third, he's overwhelmed by that personality. But he gets stronger and stronger. And by the time Empire rolls around with family, because he realizes he has a son and a daughter, he knows he can take the Emperor with his family, just as he defeated everything else when he had Padme by his side.
I wonder if he, part of the confusion might be too, is thinking that if he can get Obi-Wan to help him overthrow the Emperor, maybe that's the conflict a little bit too. Maybe there's a thought.
Okay, I like that, because that makes it made no sense to me why Obi-Wan in the last episode gets off his train, which, by the way, that was a mess. Rokon, Ice Cube's son, is like, at the beginning of the film, he's like, they're coming after us, and Obi-Wan's like, how much time do you need to fix the hyperdrive? And he's like, more time than we have. And then Obi-Wan says, I'm gonna be a distraction and go lure Darth Vader away because they want me. And then Roken's like, oh, but we can fix the hyperdrive. Like, just terrible writing. Sorry, child's party. Okay. Child's party. So anyways, Obi-Wan leaves to distract Vader. Vader goes down to the planet, and Obi-Wan finds Vader, and then Vader's like, have you come to destroy me? Like, dude, Vader, you followed Obi-Wan to the planet. It's not like Obi-Wan's chasing you. So have you, but if he's asking that to figure out where Obi-Wan's head is at, is like, have you come to destroy me, or have you come to join me, or ask me to join you so we can overtake the Emperor? That makes more sense. That's my headcanon from now on, because I didn't like that line.
Well, along your lines there, Obi-Wan is in many ways both his big brother and his dad. Because Qui-Gon died so quickly, he never really had that authority. But look at the second episode when they both jump out of the glider into the lower levels of Coruscant, they're having a blast, just dropping through space, and acting goofy.
Yeah. Okay.
That was definitely a goofy movie too.
The other thing I liked about like I said, the last episode was the redemption of why this thing didn't get a 2 out of 10 for me. For me, I haven't seen anyone say this. I've been quoting half of Reddit that are like, that makes sense, but the other half is like, cracking is me. This is another thing that I enjoyed. I haven't seen anyone else mention. You guys know the YouTube video Scene 38 Reimagined, where they re-edited Kenobi and Vader's Death Star fight. I got huge core memories unlocked when I saw them fighting and they had the lightsabers crossed and you can see the reflection in Vader's helmet. I enjoyed that. I feel like they canonized Scene 38 reimagined, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was great.
I wish that super cut they have on, I actually shared it yesterday with our friend Jeff Reed. He was like, what? I haven't heard of this. So I sent it to him.
Okay.
And it's on YouTube. And I'm like, man, I wish they would just like the new reissue of the old trilogy would have put that in that, because it's fantastic. It's so well done. But you do get to see, it's true. Technology's come a long way. And, they were restricted in the 70s with, the big bulky suits and sets and, what can't see out of this helmet, And so the fight scenes were pretty docile. And especially since it was a very old man fighting another somewhat older man, it kind of, you give them that, it's not as great, but you give them that. But now we have Darth Vader in the suit, clearly can see where he's going.
I didn't care too much for Darth Vader spinning, like when he spins and his cloak's flowing around. I didn't like that.
You gotta have Star Wars spins.
I don't want any Darth Vader spinning. Like he never spun it. He never spun
the cake spin though.
Zip.
That's not Darth Vader.
The OG. He didn't spin in Rogue One. He doesn't spin in another.
He never
thing
had
I
to.
Almost spoiled.
Never faced anybody like Obi-Wan.
That's true.
The Darth suit.
Yeah,
I think the whole reason the spin's in there is because somebody on there was a Batman fan, and Batman has his cape as a distraction.
Yeah, certainly distracted.
Honestly, I think that's the reason it's in there. It's entirely because there's a Batman fan on the staff. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so here's another question I have. Could Vader and Obi-Wan be a Force dyad? The reason I ask is because another title I've given this show, instead of Obi, why isn't this a 2-hour movie, is also how Obi got his groove back, because he goes pretty hardcore. Dare I say, he rays out between episode 4 and 5. He goes from pathetic man who can barely do anything to now he's throwing tons of rocks at Vader pretty quickly, which was awesome. Which then I thought, okay, well, if Rey got her power so fast because she was a Force dyad with Kylo Ren, maybe Vader could be a Force dyad with Obi-Wan. And now that they're starting to interact with each other, since they kind of came close to each other, is that possibly how Obi-Wan got his groove back so fast?
I don't think they're going to do that.
Just more headcanon?
I don't think they will. I mean, they could. It could be just like, I've spent so much time with this person. I know them so intimately because we were brothers. We grew up together. I basically raised this guy. There's a lot of bleed over there that could be not related to the Force at all. That's just connection that bleeds into, this kind of, because we have the Force, we can connect a little better because of all these other things that already exist. I mean, that makes the most sense to me. I probably wouldn't overthink that too much. I feel like
I'm just trying to think of a good reason why just the terrible writing gives him power so quickly. I mean, that's what they said about Rey. Just okay,
I think, you know what it is. I think when he's under those rocks, he visualizes those kids.
Oh, I'm talking about before even that. I mean, he's holding his own before he's buried.
I'm getting to the part where he like can suddenly throw a mountain at somebody.
Yeah,
that's power we've never seen Obi-Wan have. And as I watched it again this morning and was just like, okay, there's something fantastic going on there. We have only seen Obi-Wan Kenobi in defense. Obi-Wan is a negotiator.
Yes.
His lightsaber style is, I forget what it's called, is notoriously defensive. He is known
to know all the forms
for holding back and restraining himself. And when he thinks of those kids, he thinks of everything out there that's relying on him. He attacks Vader. It's the first time we've really seen Obi-Wan like go attack. He comes up behind him and he's going to slice him in the back. He's not playing fair anymore. Obi-Wan actually goes on the attack, and we realize, I think, that he has been holding back. That all this time he is so powerful and holding back that he's like, I've got to stop him. And then he comes short and he lets him live again, which doesn't make sense if that's the case. But
I mean, if he's seeing Anakin inside of Vader, then it makes sense.
Well, the same thing on the volcanic planet, Obi-Wan was in entirely defensive mode, chopped off an arm, chopped off a leg,
left him,
trying to get him to come back.
Rather burn him alive and leave him defenseless than just end him.
Right.
Like, you're not being as merciful as you think, Obi-Wan, but congratulations on your principles.
That's true.
Still
People are like,
intact.
Obi-Wan showed mercy. And I thought, no, if I hit an animal with my car and nothing's going to happen to it, I'm going to merciful it. Like that's a thing for a reason. So I don't know. Again, like maybe he saw Anakin in there, but then what did he say? See you later, Darth. It's I also thought it was a cop out at the end. There were things I liked, but I also thought it was a cop out at the end when he's like, okay, Leia, don't tell anyone about this. Like, oh, because the whole time I'm thinking of Obi-Wan Kenobi, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars, and now I need your assistance. And it's like, I don't know if that message should play the same now. Like you said, when they redo the OG Star Wars, that message is going to be different because of Kenobi. Like that was a plot hole they didn't need to fill in. I was almost thinking like, man, they should have done like a Force memory eraser of something like this is too traumatic for you. Let me take it out of your head. Mercy thing. Like, I don't know. I just didn't like baby Leia in it. Like what they did for what they wanted to do as a child's party. Great. I think they could have had a better MacGuffin. Just saying.
I loved her in it. I thought she nailed that part. She was so good. She was definitely Leia. And I loved how they used her to pay homage to Padme as well. And just kind of show that we've always heard about how those kids are Darth Vader's kids, but they're also Padme's kids. And they got stuff from her too. And I think that was a really nice little touch.
I did like at the end when he's like, when they're in they're on the guy's trailer truck. Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I see so much of your mother in you. And she's like, what about my father? And he's like, well, and he's like, yeah. Then at the end, when he realizes, okay, which again, doesn't make any sense, but I mean, whatever. When he realizes Anakin is dead, then he is like, oh, and your father, you have these qualities as well. Because I'm okay saying that because Darth Vader isn't your father. Which he even says he finally splits them. He finally splits them, which helps Empire when he's like, oh no, your father's dead. Like he's he's done. Or Luke is like, why didn't you tell me in Return of the Jedi? And he's like, well, he's more machine than man. So okay, sure, like that's fine.
Well, I would have liked to have seen.
I don't know. I feel like there's a better MacGuffin than Leia gets kidnapped and now she's got, and plus I'm coming at it also. I've read some of the Obi-Wan journals that are canon that have some great adventures of Obi-Wan doing stuff on Tatooine, saving people, learning some new powers and stuff. I'm like, I'm okay with them making season 2 and 3 if they pull from those stories. Those are fantastic stories. He could have re-engaged with the Force through those stories and has had the same guilt overcome. I think you got to have that battle if you want with Vader. I just didn't like the Leia MacGuffin. I thought it could be better. And again, Reva, I think could have been introduced in a better fashion than thrown into Kenobi's story.
Well, one of the things I would have liked to have seen is in every interaction that Vader and Obi-Wan had, he never should have called him Darth. He should have always referred to him as Anakin, trying to bring him back.
True. Yeah, I think that's the point. I think he gave up. I think that's where he was like, you are truly dead. Yeah. And now you're Darth.
Right. And that brings us to the battle in episode 4 on the Death Star. And obviously he couldn't call him Anakin then because Lucas hadn't decided to go that route yet. But then this takes into account why it's not a flashy battle. The battle wasn't taking place physically. It was an entire mental force battle.
Yeah. I will say I liked seeing more of the Force used in this final battle as kind of more kind of Force Unleashed feel to how they were fighting together. And we finally, I think, got that where, in the middle of the battle, Darth Vader stops a lightsaber with the Force, then it's back to sabers, and then he pushes, and then they're throwing rocks at each other. It's like full command of the Force. Like every fan has always said, if I were in that situation, I would do this, and that. Like they're finally doing that.
And I think I did
cool.
like, again, I like the choreography and the fact that the first strike that Obi-Wan makes on Vader is not lightsaber or the Force. He's using the hilt to break his breathing apparatus. So like
crippled him.
Yeah. So it was neither Force nor lightsaber. It was just a surprise, right?
Technically, it was lightsaber.
Technically, right? But I think the only other surprise would have been him pulling out a blaster.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, what the heck, dude? He's like,
what is this about?
We're gonna be uncivilized.
Okay, there's one more line. If you can justify this line in A New Hope, I will raise my review from 4 to 5. Okay. There's one line that I enjoy in A New Hope where he says, "When you left me, or when we last met, I was but a learner. Now I am the master." Okay. That works really well leaving episode 3. I don't know if it works really well now, because it's like, what did you think you learned? Like, no, you were beat. You weren't learning anything, right? Like the Attack of the Clones flashback, which I also enjoyed, that was a great learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And even when they met, well, no, it was the same. It was that flashback during episode 3, I think, when Obi-Wan's like, "You'll always be a Padawan if you don't learn this." And it's like, well, maybe he did learn it, and now he's not the learner. But I don't know. That line doesn't jive as well with me anymore.
Yeah.
So if you can fix that line,
I don't think you really can.
I can fix it.
Do it.
Okay. The reason why he says that you were the master and I was the learner, and now I'm the master, is it's a remnant of
the council
Anakin coming through, although they can't say it's Anakin coming through.
Yeah.
Because in the Sith, there is a master and an apprentice.
Right.
There's nothing else. And under the Jedi, you can become a master. So Vader is still seeing himself a little bit as Anakin in that scene. But he's got the corruption of the dark side.
I think
that's him calling out, and that's heading into the redemption arc, because that's all
true. But when that line was written, Anakin was dead.
But you can't use that.
So the last time Vader fought Obi-Wan, either way, I mean, he had to have been in like learning mode and not just defeated
mode.
But
you can't use the continuity of time.
I know, but like I'm saying, it doesn't
try to
work
justify
either way. It doesn't work either way to me.
No, what I would say is, when the line is, "When I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master."
Right.
So if you want to get legalistic and technical, only way you can make that work, which I don't think is even a good answer still, because I say you really can't. I really don't feel like it. I think it's a hole. But if he says, "When I left you," when did he leave him? He left him when they said goodbye, right before Kenobi went to kill Grievous. And then that's really when he left. When he left, he was a learner. And technically he was a Jedi Knight at that point. Like he wasn't Obi-Wan's Padawan still.
Yeah.
But what does he
I would
mean
like,
by learner?
yeah, I would like
it's fuzzy,
even if, if Obi-Wan could have said something when he left and said, "Goodbye, Darth, my forever Padawan," like, or something like that. Like that could have been, or "You still have much to learn." Ooh, that would have been a good line. Darth, you still have so much to learn.
Would have helped.
And he leaves, and it's like, oh dang, burn. Like,
well, but almost that's also kind of what Obi-Wan does, though, in the battle on the Death Star. Vader says, "I am the master," and Obi-Wan lowers the blade and says, "I'm going to become more powerful than you
strike me down,
possibly imagine."
And he says, "You're only a master of evil, Darth."
Yeah.
And throws it back in his face. It's like, you're not a master of like as a Jedi, like you think you're stronger than I am as a master. You're not. I feel like that was the exchange. And then when he says, like you said, "Strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can even imagine." It's like Obi-Wan is always taking Anakin to school. And he's always telling him that you think you know so much about the Force, and there's so many things that yet I have not even taught you, that I've learned.
Yeah.
Because the truth is that a true master never stops being a learner. And that's Obi-Wan. And when Darth Vader is like, "I was but a learner," and it's like, of course, aren't we supposed to be?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the Sith believe that with the whole master apprentice. The reason the apprentice, the reason why you take an apprentice is because the apprentice calls out your weakness, and if your weakness is weak enough for the apprentice to kill you, then yeah, that's kind of what I'm learning as I'm reading through Darth Bane and the Rule of Two. That's kind of the whole point.
It's on my list.
That you always watch out for your weaknesses because someone's coming for you.
Yeah.
But that's a change from your old Republic era too, because there were many Sith.
Correct. In the old Republic area. Yeah. That's so my understanding, not to get off topic, is, the Rule of Two was first idealized by Revan, put into a holocron that then Darth Bane found and actually put into practice. Anyways, I like I said, I enjoyed, let's see what else. I enjoyed Tara. I thought that was a cool little, not really MacGuffin, but just way along the plot. Inquisitorium, fine. Grand Inquisitor, we knew he had to come back. I never watched Rebels, but I've heard enough about it to know, okay, well, the Grand Inquisitor is going to come back. Obviously came back. Reva stabbed twice, Inquisitor stabbed once. Apparently they just keep hitting the same spot. Which someone on Reddit said, like, oh, well, these sabers are hot enough. These are plasma sabers hot enough to melt a metal door. Your insides are going to boil if you get struck through with a lightsaber. There's no like missing vital organs, but no, whatever. Maybe the dark side is that strong with them. I don't know.
But they cauterize the wound, and you're like, yeah, but they melt everything first.
Yeah. So my only justification is, dark side can hold Darth Nihilus together. Not Darth Nihilus. Who's the guy from KOTOR 2 that was like broken and he was just using dark side to keep himself together?
All I remember is that and calling him sleeps with vibroblades. Scion, Darth Scion. Yeah.
And Anakin was able to hold him. Anyway, maybe that was it, but I don't think.
Well, they even said they kind of retconned that too, with the need for revenge does wonders for staying alive, or something he said when he came back. In the end, there it was like, yeah, we get it. It's like you can be caught and you chopped in half and stay alive.
Darth Maul, crazy. Right? The thing I don't understand,
maybe the dark side is stronger.
Maybe it was some subcontext that I missed, but why did Reva go after Luke?
That's a confusing plot hole to me as well. I felt like that was a confusing thing. And all she knows, she doesn't know that Skywalker's kids. All she knows is that this kid is connected to the Leia kid, and they both are really important to Obi-Wan. And so I'm going to do something. And it's like, she's still trying to win favor with Vader. Is she getting her revenge because she thinks that Vader cares? I just didn't connect those dots. I think I don't really understand why she went back. I think she's really just lashing out. Honestly, it was a plot point that didn't make much sense to me. But
again, could have been left alone, right? It could have been any other kid. Could have been like the timeline doesn't work out, but old broomstick kid at the end of Last Jedi. It could have been someone like that, like a Force Sensitive. You could just gone after someone from that would have been a really cool bleeding over. Like she's in the Inquisitorium from Fallen Order. She finds one of the kids on their transport that they're trying to save, and she tries to kill him, but then sees herself.
Well, I'll tell you what that storyline did do, though. It really did kind of bring Owen and Beru into.
We finally know how Owen got his limp.
Yeah, he got his limp, but dude, they fought hard, man. He's like,
they did. I didn't really. Reva should have taken him to school. I know he's using John Wick farmer plus Aunt Beru's.
But that's how when Luke comes back in 4 and they're just burned to a crisp, and it's the most horrifying scene that he could walk up to these people that were his parents for his whole life, and here's their skeletons. It doesn't.
So apparently, stormtroopers could do what Reva couldn't.
But there's so many of them. I mean, there'd be so many of them. They could overwhelm.
There's so many of them everywhere. They don't do it.
But they clearly fought back. That's the thing. Those two farmers clearly fought. And got that verdict. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they might have still been alive, or they might have been hauled off and tortured, for information. But they were killed and burned because they did not go down without a fight. And that was kind of cool to see. That these are not just the homely kind of people that leave you. They'll call your name and leave you 3 seconds to respond.
Yeah, well, I think that was part of it. Was like, Uncle Owen's like, you're not going to have any fun, and you're going to be working on this. Like, you can't do this or that. Like no, they humanized them too. I just think they shouldn't have held up that well.
I loved it. I loved it too. He was like, and Ben's gone, and Bruce's like, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Like, the thing I never got out of episode 4 is why Luke is using Skywalker. Well,
they told him early. I mean, he's always known that he was a.
Well, yeah, but you would think that would.
Well, if it was Uncle
not taking into account the movies and all the other stuff, just that movie, you would have thought that maybe eventually that would have trickled back to the.
Well, Owen and Bruce's last name is Skywalker too, right?
Yeah.
So I just assumed, well, they just think it's their kid. They don't know it's Luke. They just
no, their last name is Lars. Their last name.
Oh, that's right, Owen Lars. Yeah.
But Shmi Skywalker was, Anakin's name. So they probably were.
She was the half brother of Owen, right?
Yeah,
that's how they're related.
Well,
or
Owen's father married her, and so Owen is actually the half brother of Anakin. Stepbrother.
Okay, I didn't know what I thought I don't know what I thought I knew.
so technically, I thought he was Shmi's nephew,
half brother. So he is the son. So Shmi is his stepmother?
No, Shmi was a slave bought by the Lars father, whatever his name is, I can't remember. They married.
Okay.
But he already had Owen. Had Owen.
Yeah,
and
so
Owen
Shmi is his stepmother.
Peru. Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So
gotcha. So they are technically stepbrothers. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so Anakin and Owen are stepbrothers.
Okay. So he's Owen, son of Anakin. Or no, sorry,
nephew.
Owen, brother of Anakin. Yeah, like James, the brother of Jesus, Owen, the brother of Anakin.
We call them
same
nephews.
Mom, different dads.
We call them nephews.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyways, all right. This has been the latest installment of Justin Doesn't Understand How Fictional Family Ties Work.
Justin doesn't understand family. Okay.
I still don't know. Like I don't know what I call my stepsister my double stepsister because she's my wife's brother's wife. So I'm like, this is my double stepsister, or this is my double sister-in-law, Sarah. Like, what does that mean? I'm like, we have no blood, but she's like my wife's brother's wife.
Yeah. There were several Easter eggs in this series.
Please tell me about all these Easter eggs.
I tried to find as many as I could. We already mentioned Corin Horn and some of the names that were on the wall. And I think that's probably the biggest ones. We'll start there. But there is a line that calls out one of them, and he says, Quinlan was here.
Quinlan
Voss, very cool Jedi, survives Order 66, is out there somewhere. And Quinlan's unique ability to touch an object and through the Force sense that object's history is a really cool feature that he has. So I would love to see the series expand to Obi-Wan finding Quinlan and helping smuggle people out, start the rebellion, do things like that here on Tatooine and just other places when they come through, and introduce all the other Jedi that survived that were on the run, like a Kanan Jarrus, or some of the others that we know, Yoda, like might even come back in the series. I think that could be a really cool, fun season 2 to show how here's stuff that you didn't know was going on that was also going on that really didn't have anything to do with the story of Skywalker, but it's more about, hey, here's what Obi-Wan's been doing on Tatooine for that 100 years or whatever he's been, years.
I think that'll be a wonderful thing.
It'll be a fun series.
I mean, he aged 100 years
away,
between.
It's a big galaxy outside of Luke Skywalker.
Expand the universe. That's cool. Anytime you can expand the universe and introduce more stories of what's going on,
as long as Seth, we've had this discussion. I want to see non-Force expanded stories. I want to see bounty hunter stories, smuggler stories, Imperial agent stories.
Okay,
I don't want Force characters. I want normies.
Right, and there's a bunch, and that's what I loved about.
But they don't have their own stories. Rogue One was the closest we got.
No, that's true.
They could do a whole series on Corellia resisting the Empire because they never submitted.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. And we got a little bit of that with Solo, and I felt like they took a page out of Solo's book when they filmed this last episode. It was all in the dark,
Yeah.
And I'm getting older and I can't see what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. Phone brightness all the way up.
Other Easter eggs.
That was
In the background of the Rebel crew, when they get to that part, many of those extras are actual Star Wars influencers, podcast hosts, people that are very much part of the community of Star Wars lore. And so a lot of people got jobs as extras being on the background, including the scene in the very beginning of the series when you see Order 66. A lot of those clone troopers are from the famous cosplay group, the 501st.
Oh, so, I remember reading something about the 501st. Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. They involved the community of creators in that creation. That was really interesting.
I will only ever give credit to that kind of thing when they get a spoken line. Like extras, great. It's fun. It's exciting.
Well, here's one.
As an actor, you get a spoken line, you get into SAG, you're actually going to be on your path to having an actual career. Otherwise, you're just paying extras. Well, in fact, they probably paid them less than they would have extras.
Good segue. The Empire-loving moron Freck,
yes,
that turned him over to the Empire, is none other than Zach Braff.
I still don't. I heard that. I went and rewatched it. I still don't hear it. He sounds more like oh gosh, who did I think he was at first? I thought he was Seth Rogen at first. Because he kind of has that tinge in his voice. I had no idea it was Zach Braff. I still don't hear it.
It's really cool. And then of course you mentioned earlier, Flea, the bass player from Red Hot Chili Peppers, is the guy who kidnaps Leia. Lola is the name of the little robot that small Leia is, obsessed with.
Baby droid. You got to have a baby droid.
But Lola was actually the name of, I forget what it was. It was Carrie Fisher's, I think it was her cat. She actually had a pet named Lola that she loved, and they named it after that pet, whatever that pet was. Vader actually finally gets the high ground in episode 6 when he buries Obi-Wan. So that was
totally wastes it.
And totally wastes it. Yep. A lot of dead Jedi on the wall. I made a list of all the Jedi that we know so far that did survive. Apparently, Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Quinlan Vos. There's talk that Barriss Offee actually survived, and Reva was a youngling who survived. So there's several more, but lots of people apparently. And we all know that the plane that Obi-Wan brought to, little toy that he brought to Luke was the T-16 that he was playing with in New Hope. He's got it flying around. He's like, he's a bullseye womp rats, a T-16 back home.
Yep.
Like a sadistic serial killer. But there's a lot of interesting connections to the Legends group as well. Vader's castle is here. It's on Mustafar, and in Legends it was on Vajun, but it's this lava planet castle that he has, this fortress, and they showed that's separate from the fortress Inquisitorius, which was a callback to Fallen Order. So. And then last, I think they tried to retcon this as well. One of the, it's not really an Easter egg, but it's kind of a long-standing question about how Leia had flashes of her mother when her mother died at birth. And Obi-Wan explains that he had a brother, doesn't really remember him, but through the Force he sees these images.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's brother. I forgot about that.
So
that was a big drop.
It kind of allows you to say, well, that must be how Leia sees that too. And
I just assumed it was the Force.
Yeah. And then Obi-Wan has the classic saber spin that he does, and that's kind of like when he's feeling it, he's back, and he did that in the hallway there, and he got his own little hallway scene.
Yeah.
So
real quick, going back to Leia, does she have is she more attuned mentally in the Force, like Force persuasion, Force domination, Force, like, because I mean she took that in episode 1, she took that kid to town a little bit too much, if you ask me. But
it was awesome burn.
She kind of knows things that maybe she shouldn't intuit things, and that kind of honestly made her a little bit of a Mary Sue. Which is like, come on, you get caught by Flea in the forest, and then after that, you're just, no one can touch you. Like even Reva can't torture you because of Deus Ex Machina. No, anyways,
Yeah, in the Legends series, when she is made a Jedi Knight, because I don't think that Luke, she never becomes a Jedi Master, but Luke specifically says you just don't have any fighting skills. It's the diplomacy, it's the other parts of being a Jedi that makes you a knight.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll come back and teach Obi-Wan the mind trick,
which makes her very much more of the Jedi consular rank than
it's more like Mace Windu than, even though Windu could fight.
I would say more like a Yoda type or Qui-Gon, or like a Qui-Gon. But still, the last Easter egg I have was when Obi-Wan is confronted on the cyberpunk planet. I forget its name, with the girl in the red hair that's selling something to him.
Yeah.
That's his actual daughter. That's Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Why are they okay, never mind. I know why. But this is a rhetorical question. Why do they keep making up new planets? That could have easily been Nar Shaddaa. It could have easily been Nar Shaddaa. I would have loved for it to be Nar Shaddaa. Yeah. It's a canon planet. They're freaking making, this is New Vegas. Like, oh, come on.
Nar Shaddaa.
I know why they don't. It feels like they don't want to say, oh, we're so good, we're making all this up. And it's like, no, just use what they've already. They don't want to pay royalties. They don't want to admit, hey, we're pulling from old things. We just want all things.
But the books, though, I mean, the Legends books or whatever, I mean, those are all work for hire. They own those outright. There's no royalty.
Yeah,
I'm talking about conceptual royalty. They don't want people. I feel that they make up these new planets because they don't want people to say, "Oh, Nar Shaddaa, well, that's from that novel. Let me go read that novel," and they see how much better Legends.
It's what they've missed is that exists to us. You're just ignoring it and not pulling it in when we're like, that's Nar Shaddaa. You're telling us it's another planet. Like, that's not Mustafar. That's not where Vader's castle is. It's on Vajun. It looks the same. Just say Vajun. It's like, just give us
Mustafar makes sense to me. Kind of dumb. I mean, like, you put it on the planet where you lost everything and it fuels your hatred. There's another planet. It escapes my mind. I can't remember what planet it was.
Tatooine?
Technically, instead of
everything happens on Tatooine.
No, Force Awakens, what was it called? Junk planet. Where Rey was from. That it was basically Tatooine without the name. But I agree. Also, it's too many things keep happening on Tatooine, so maybe it was a good thing that Rey was not on Tatooine. But there was another planet. I can't think of the name of it, but there was another one I was like, oh, that's already a planet. Why are you renaming it something new? Okay, a couple of Easter eggs that you didn't mention, Seth. Did you know the character that comes back at the end, the Force Ghost, is actually Obi-Wan's original master, Qui-Gon?
What?
We haven't talked about that yet. Liam Neeson has not aged a day. I read, and I don't have any confirmation, I read they didn't do any de-aging on him. Like, Liam Neeson literally looks the same after 20 years.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think the beard hides it, but anyways, any thoughts on that? Like, cool. Apparently that's another canon thing, but I don't know that canon. Like, Qui-Gon's not supposed to be able to be a Force ghost. He's supposed to be a voice. What do they call it? Disembodied voice. I don't know anything about it. So
as far as I'm concerned, Qui-Gon is the Jedi of all Jedis and can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
That guy, if there's a way to do it in the Force, that guy's going to do it. And
he's going to figure it out
without the help of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
So, I'm good with it, man. I think it leaves it open if they want to do something, but it also closes it enough that they don't have to do anything.
Yeah. And I think if they do a season 2, and like you said, they go off world on more adventures, I think they could definitely do an Empire Strikes Back training montage with Qui-Gon and Obi, and to do something cool with that where he's learning. Okay, now another Easter egg you didn't catch, Seth, or you didn't mention, maybe you caught it, you just didn't mention it. The
lightsabers.
Owen fighting Reva, and he takes out that giant plank and Reva slashes it in half. That is the same bar, not the same one, but it's the same type of bar they used to hold open the trash compactor. Remember, Han grabs that giant bar to hold open the trash compactor.
I love that.
That's the same kind of bar. Apparently it's some common, it's in another property. I can't remember off the top of my head, Reddit said, but it's used in another property too. It's like a common engineering piece. That's was cool. The same bar. And I was like, oh, okay. That's
it's fun. Probably the exhaust pipe off of the old T16.
The way you said it, you got to go to the YouTube and watch this just to see the way that your neck beard grew when you said.
Yep, that's, I don't know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in
it. Oh yeah, buddy.
No, I did forget to mention one though, that when they do the flashback and before Clone Wars, Obi-Wan and Anakin are doing training in that same place where the whole thing started. Their lightsabers are the ones they had in episode 2. So they are the old versions of their lightsabers before Anakin's got chopped in half and Obi-Wan lost his to being captured on Geonosis. So that was
all right. Any other thoughts besides apparently they don't have metal detectors on Tatooine, or everyone would have found all the lightsabers that are buried out there? Goodness gracious.
Dude, for real. The technology they do and don't have is fantastic.
They don't have they have to have transistors because of the droids, but apparently they don't use them to build anything bigger than a droid.
They call them motivators. They shouldn't go bad.
Those motivators keep breaking, man.
If they got a bad motivator, it just explode.
I'm gonna use that. What did that's right. The ship had a bad motivator. Oh yeah, another Easter egg. Apparently, Star Destroyers did not develop the tractor beam technology to suck up something the size of a Corellian cruiser or whatever Obi-Wan and Leia and the people were on until after the Kenobi series. Because that was another thing I was thinking the whole time.
Didn't know they needed that.
I'm like, yeah, they didn't know they needed to be able to tractor beam ships up, and they also didn't know to be carrying TIE fighters.
I do kind of like that though. I kind of like seeing the progression of the Empire to the point we get
That's
to.
my headcanon, yeah.
It's like you get to see in some of this extra stuff Disney is making, like you're seeing some of the facilities where they build these things, and you're seeing Rebels, they're experimenting with new TIE fighters, and there's just all kinds of technology, and it's very reminiscent of like World War II, Nazi Germany, kind of the acceleration of technology was due to the war. And, they experimented with drugs and technology and warfare and all kinds of psychological warfare, and really advanced how to hurt people really fast because they had a real strong vested interest in it. And then you have the Empire doing the same thing. So you do see all that and you kind of go, wow, that seems like, that could be a accurate historical documentation of what led us to this point, and how someone gains that kind of power over that many systems and people. It was
interesting. As far as a series, I would love to see an engineering series, like showing this stuff like you're talking about. I mean, because Death Star is a planet-sized battle station or a moon-sized battle station. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you have to go in and clear out the entire asteroid belt to smelt the thing to build it. I'd love to see that. Even if they just did it as like a 1 hour special kind of thing, that would be awesome.
They
touched on that
They need The Office Star Wars edition. And it takes place in the engineering department.
Well, I mean,
one Michael Scott character is like
that with
world's best boss.
Comedy stuff with the lower decks. So I mean,
I think Robot Chicken did something like that too with Star Wars, where there's a couple scenes.
Robot Chicken's got some good Star Wars
where
stuff.
Really Darth Vader calls the Emperor after the first Death Star is destroyed. And he's like, hold on, can you give me a second? I gotta take this call. Darth, baby, what's going on? Like, what? Well, how does that happen? He's just, he's freaking out.
Like, and Vader starts crying, and he's like, the guy's like, oh geez, he's crying now. It's okay. It's just come back here.
One pilot. Why don't we cover the hole? It's just like, it seems like a pretty obvious design flaw, Vader. What am I paying? And he hangs.
They've got some good. They got another one of the Emperor going up an escalator, and all the stormtroopers are like, "Hail, Emperor!" And the Emperor's like,
"My lord." My lord.
They got some. My lord. Yeah. They got some. Robot Chicken's got some funny Star Wars stuff. All right, so my review hasn't really changed. Like I said, child's party for a grown up, but I said it unironically. My hairdresser salon lady is a big Marvel fan, and she's like, what do you think of Doctor Strange? And I'm like, it was all right. She's like, what do you mean? I thought you're a huge Marvel guy. I was like, yeah, this new stuff just isn't my Marvel, right? And I just you got to accept it. I'm watching Miss Marvel with my daughter. she's enjoying it. I'm getting some good quality time with my phone games that I forgot I had. No, actually, I'm actually enjoying Miss Marvel more than Kenobi. To be honest, with
Really?
TBH, yeah.
I stopped. I couldn't. I was like, this isn't for me.
It might be because I'm watching it with my daughter. She's enjoying it. I'm also watching it because I'm not going to screen it with her. I'm just going to watch it with her. And, it brings up some good questions. We talk about diversity and, the Muslim traditions that they have and the Pakistan traditions and Indian traditions they have. And, brings up some questions about what we believe. It's pretty good. And, the action's a little meh, but, I have to fill in some of the plot points because it is a little bit convoluted, but we're at least, enjoying the popcorn and fruit salad that we make every Wednesday now. It's a tradition. So, but I'll tell you this, I'm enjoying that time more than I did Kenobi. Kenobi was a little bit of a chore to get through, but I'm not as big of a Star Wars fan as I am a Marvel fan.
Upset a lot of people. So
every episode of Miss Marvel is upsetting some people.
Yeah.
That's
it's upsetting the Muslims because she's supposed to get her powers from genies or something. So
she's fighting genies.
There's going to be some
bad guys. She's getting it. They haven't revealed it, but they've hinted that she's basically getting her powers from the negative zone, which we already knew it was going to be some kind of cosmic power because they didn't want to give her stretchy abilities, even though one of her negative zone powers is the ability to stretch her arm and catch things. She's kind of creating light fixtures and she can like walk on them and block shots with them. The fight at the end of the last episode was pretty cool, kind of coming into figuring out her powers.
I could tell I watched about half the first episode and I was like, this is for teenagers.
Yeah, the first episode was very slow. Even the Avenger I'll tell you this, the Avengers video game did Miss Marvel better than this TV show. But again, it was more comic accurate, the video game than the TV show. One of my favorite things about the video game I thought was pretty cool was Miss Marvel's costume. Her first costume in the TV show is just a Captain Marvel outfit that she made. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
She doesn't really I don't remember how she gets in the comics. I used to read Miss Marvel when it first came out. But in the video game, her first costume is a burkini. And I thought that was the coolest idea ever. It's a red and blue burkini. And that's like what she has to like cover her whole body and be a superhero. And she just puts a mask on. I was like, that's a pretty cool idea. That's good writing. But anyways, so what are you guys nerding out about right now?
Well, I'm really excited about the Midnight Suns video game that's going to be coming out from Marvel toward the end of the year. Look, I'm hoping it is as good as the trailer, but it's not going to be, but I have hopes for it.
Okay.
After Avengers, I'm not getting okay. So that all the good stuff I just said about Avengers is pretty much the only good thing about Avengers. The combat's fun. The story was fun, but they totally did not promote that this was a game as a service like Destiny or something that you have to get online and
I'm so sick of those kind of games, man.
Yeah, so they didn't promote that at all. So when you first log in,
new version of like Elder Scrolls, and I love Skyrim, but I love it because I don't have to log in, I don't have to get the internet.
Well, not only that, I mean, you've got to deal with
play a game.
You've got to deal with loot boxes. I am okay with premium currency as far as like buying costumes, buying new animations. They have all that, of course. But they do have a loot box system. I don't remember if you can buy it, but you got to grind it. And I don't care for that.
I don't like that.
No.
It's better than having to buy it. But anyways.
What was the name again, Doug? What was the name of that game?
Midnight
Suns.
Okay, what is that? What is that about?
That's the supernatural characters. It's
Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Proximate Blade. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, cool. I think it's something. Yeah. Anyways, the trailer
the TV show, the Marvel series is going to be on Disney Plus at about the same time. It's a co-promotion thing.
Okay, sweet. I'm pumped about this game I downloaded yesterday or 2 days ago. I haven't played it yet, and I'm getting into it this weekend. It is Shredder's Revenge. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm hearing things about it.
I've seen so many clips and people loving this game, and it is like a great continuation of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, which was number 2 in the series, or maybe they include 3, I don't know. But it's Shredder's Revenge, and so many things are reminiscent of that old side-scrolling kind of game.
Yep.
I heard it's not impossibly hard to beat, which I am glad that there's a level that somebody who's not good at video games but enjoys them can actually enjoy this game. So I'm pretty pumped about that. It's on my hard drive. I am ready to play this weekend. We're gonna knock it out. And there's a co-op. You can bring somebody else in from like other PlayStation or Xbox and play, together, I think. So so I'm excited to do that. I'm gonna get my brother involved. But because we play that all the time growing up.
But if you both want a really cool RPG type series to play, that's very inexpensive and it's lots of fun because it's basically Monty Hall. It's Torchlight. If you've never played it,
it's on my list. Torchlight is on my list.
Okay. All you do, you go through and you kill stuff. Okay. There's no thought. There's no plot. It's just different dungeons, and it'll run on like really, really bad computers. And it's on sale on Steam now for like $2.
Oh, well, I'm gonna get it then. So I have a list. I have an Apple notepad. Whenever someone recommends a game, I write it in here. And I used to be better at it. I haven't done it, but at least every quarter, I know for sure the Steam summer sale, the Xbox Black Friday sale is like the best sales they have. I got a PS5, but I don't know when their sales go on. I don't pay full price. I'm not a never pay full price kind of person, but when it comes to video games, I'm a don't pay full price kind of person. And if a game ever goes under $10 and it's really well reviewed, I will get it. Like the current series I'm buying right now, the BioShock series went on sale on Xbox for $10. 3 games for $10. I had a $5 Microsoft credit for some reason. So I am currently playing BioShock. I hate scary stuff, but the BioShock game is pretty fun. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. I'm on level 2 essentially. But once you kind of get used to the scary stuff. I've been reading a lot of, listening to some legends, playing through some legends, watching some YouTube videos of Star Wars legends, all Old Republic stuff. I'm just, after I hear all this stuff, I don't want to get into post the Battle of Yavin legends because it's like, I don't want to have steak and then just have a Happy Meal when I watch Disney Star Wars. I'd rather just all I know. But maybe when I retire, and then
just give up the Happy Meal, man.
Right.
Give up the Happy Meal.
There are some people that I follow that have done that. Eric July, he's a big nerd.
Yeah, I pretend those sequels don't exist. And
he just flat out doesn't watch Marvel. He will tell you he's entertaining to watch. He has a mouth like a sailor. But he's out of Dallas. But he's like Marvel hates you. Star Wars hates you. They are all about this new stuff. They don't respect the characters. They're rewriting people. They're changing characters. He's like they do not respect you, and they're just trying to change everything. And he's like, you are addicted. You got to stop watching and stop giving them your money. And anyways, so some shows that I've watched: Our Flag Means Death, Outer Range. That was a good show. It's like sci-fi Yellowstone, really good. The Flight Attendant, watch that. Another great espionage show. Caught me by surprise. Russian Doll, it was all right. Reacher was fantastic on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
Was it?
Amazing. Loved it. And Murderville on Netflix. Hilarious. I love improv.
Murderville's amazing.
I love improv. And Murderville was a fantastic innovation.
Yeah. Quick premise of that show. They bring one guest on the show who has no idea what's happening. They're improvising based on what everybody else is doing, who knows what's happening. And it's Will Arnett. And they're just kind of playing off each other, and it is fantastic.
And at the end of the show, they actually have to guess who done it. They're basically given 3 leads, and they have to guess who done it. It's so funny, the things that they come up with. And Conan O'Brien is on the very first episode. That's one of the best episodes. If you don't like that one,
and Marshawn Lynch too. Marshawn Lynch.
I didn't really care for Marshawn Lynch. As you can tell, he's not an actor. He wasn't quick on his feet. That episode was carried by Will Arnett. But anyways,
as far as shows, again, I know I've told you before, Superman and Lois, it gets better every episode.
Still got to pick that up.
And Strange New Worlds is actually really good Star Trek.
Okay. I'm just not in Star Trek, so
I wish I had the app. Like I'm not going to pay for another service, to get it. But eventually, if we ever pick up, was it Paramount? It's on Paramount now.
Yeah,
Paramount. Picard, Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, Picard's not great, but
Yellowstone.
All those,
Strange
I
New
want to
Worlds.
see them all. I like Star Trek.
You got to take Strange New Worlds as being in the spirit of the original series, because they use newer tech and things that they can do now on the ship, and there's actually like bigger rooms and stuff. So you kind of throw that, but the show itself is top notch. It's not woke like Discovery. It's just classic original series type stories. New planet, new adventure every week.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Seth, Doug, thank you for being here, watching or listening, wherever you are. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a review, whatever you can do to support us. And if you're not part of the Facebook group, go find us on Facebook, Nerd Pastors Facebook group on there. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. And Obi, won't you leave us a good review?
Thanks for having me here, guys. It's been great.
That was a fantastic ending.
I have destroyed that ending, just like Obi-Wan should have destroyed Darth Vader.
That hurts so bad.